Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We busy tonight, y'all, and y'all gotta be proud of me. Y'all gotta be happy for me because I started right on time. I know y'all say, hopefully it's gonna be close to 10 o'clock. Sometimes the Jones say 10 o'clock. I pop up late, because life be lifing. But today we here at 10:01. You can't get mad at that. We got this, man. MLH fam is activated in the building. Change Wave Media, so good to see you. Dallas's finest, so good to see you. Jazz LP, Meg L, good to see you. Barazita Brujita, so good to see you. All my people here. The Advocate Fatima from Melbourne. Barazita, you one of the people I saw, comments I saw, and I said, I'm going to make sure I'm on time just to make sure that we get the proceedings proceeding so that you can get them kids to bed. I can't imagine with 5 kids, man. You got my admiration, my sympathy, my awe, my fear, all of those things, man. Good to see you again. Kime Aboyade Acosta, good to see you. Farah, so good to see my people in the room, man. So many MLH family members. See Shada Savita, I ain't seen in a second. Wa alaikum salam, Allahu Akram, Jordan Taylor, Verena Frazier, Katiwe again, good to see you. Yo, Michelle Inwar, so dope to see all of y'all. Jubilee, excuse me, I could read, I promise. Jubilee, Whaley, shout out to you. Ambrose, shout out to you. Muhammad, wa alaikum salam, ya akhi. I'm happy, Samantha, to see you. I'm happy to see you, Baby K. So many updates to give today. I'm going to try and give as many of them as I can because so much is going on. And thank you for forgiving me, Jubilee. So many updates going on right now in Gaza, and I want to make sure we get some of them out the way. Earlier tonight, I was on the live stream because we announced that Sean King, the American activist, journalist, etc., has reverted or converted to Islam. And so we covered that. If you want to check that video out, it's pretty interesting, I think. A lot of the responses, a lot of the engagement, some of the bigger picture questions that we were having was worth having. So I'm very, very happy, Wanda Chapman, to see you. And I'm very happy to have that conversation. But right now, our attention turns to Gaza. Today is day 156. 156 of Israel's war on Gaza. And of course, we're going to begin with the death toll. The death toll now stands at 30,960 people dead since October 7th. Since October 7th, 30,960 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza by Israeli attacks, and 72,524 people have been wounded. This is an absurd tragedy. On Friday, I told you that the numbers were not going to stop increasing at the same pace. I told you that by Monday, we would see 31,000 people dead. And sadly, we're only 40 away from that number. I hope we don't have one more single person die. It's just hard to hold that as a realistic position given what's happening. For example, earlier today, 5 people were killed in attacks in central Gaza, in Deir el-Belah alone. In Deir el-Belah in central Gaza, in Deir el-Belah, 5 people were killed in attacks. An aid worker employed at a U.S. charity has also been killed in the area. We're talking about 6 people right there. 6 people right there. I'm going to get through this as fast as possible, y'all. I know everybody is late, and I haven't slept in days, so I'm going to get through this. But I have to talk about this a little bit more. An infant and a young woman have died of malnutrition in northern Gaza. An infant and a young woman have died of malnutrition. And dying of malnutrition is always tragic and sad. But it's even more tragic and sad when we see an intentional effort made, when we see systemic and structural conditions that allow for this to happen. This happened in northern Gaza, where we've now seen 25 people. In Gaza, 25 people have died of starvation. Those numbers are low in relation to how many people have actually died of starvation. Why? Well, because the only people who are getting marked as dead from starvation or malnutrition or dehydration are people who make it to the hospital, who've been designated such by the hospital. But there is no really effective way right now to know how many of these small children, how many of these babies have died of dehydration at home or in one of these shelters or in one of these really densely populated places in cities like Khan Yunis or Rafah, even more so, where there's 1.5 million people. This is the reality. This is the reality of Gaza right now. This is the reality of the region right now. And so 25 people dead is disgusting. It's terrible. It's awful, but it's also not the whole picture. It's worse. Speaking of Rafah, which again is the southernmost town in Gaza, people in Rafah have been desperately lining up to get water from supply trucks as Israel has destroyed pipes across the strip. There are many rights groups who have accused Israel of using water and food as weapons of war. Water and food as weapons of war. If you look at how many wells have been destroyed, I think the number is 11. I'll check that number. I don't want to give you the wrong number. But a large number of wells have been destroyed in Gaza. Access to water is key. And when you eliminate access to water, you create inevitably the conditions for dehydration and malnutrition. When bakeries have been destroyed, I think it's 11 bakeries, that's the number I was thinking of. When food trucks have been destroyed, when aid trucks have been destroyed, when people waiting in line for food are killed, as we saw with the massacre last week. When we're in that context, it is nearly impossible. It is nearly impossible to not view food and water denial, food and water obstruction as a weapon of war. This isn't a situation where people are starving. This is a situation where people are being starved. There is a difference between starving and being starved. This isn't just happenstance. This isn't just regular poverty. This isn't an accident. This isn't just misfortune. This is a concerted effort to obstruct access. When you got people who don't have access to clean water and they have to mix their water with seawater, as Savitha just said, and people die, that's foreseeable, avoidable, and preventable. When, kids are using animal feed or eating animal feed as bread, or eating bread made out of animal feed, and they die, as a 2-year-old did 2 weeks ago, we're dealing with a fundamental problem of food being used as a weapon of war. And it really is that simple. The United States, as a Navy logistics vessel, has set sail for the Eastern Mediterranean to establish a temporary pier in Gaza to deliver aid. We're still on this pier program. President Biden wants to set up a pier off of the Gaza coast. Why? So that he can, the answer is to the why is so that President Biden can say the U.S. is attempting to provide aid and to not have it funneled through Hamas, the awful boogeyman that's going to eat all your snacks. Look, if you want to bypass UNRWA and Hamas and the UN and the Red Cross and any other organization, say, look, we're just going to give this food out ourselves, I can't get mad at that. I can't get mad at that as such or per se. But what I can say is there's something problematic about creating the conditions for famine, creating the conditions for the weaponization of poverty, the weaponization of hunger, the weaponization of thirst, and then try to clean your hands by giving food out of the other side. That's unacceptable. Israel's only able to obstruct this access using weapons that we send them or that we pay for. And the global community sees it. And when they attempt to hold them to any level of accountability, what do? We veto any attempts at legal or juridical accountability at the UN Security Council table. This is what the US does. So we're the reason people are starving. We're the reason people are catching hell. We're complicit in this. We're conspirators in this, co-conspirators in this as a country. And then we say, here's some food over inside. We create the conditions for millions of people to starve, and then we drop 36,000 meals, which is a full day's meal for 12,000 people. That's what we do. Anyway. And this is what Hamas says. A Hamas spokesperson says the U.S. plan to build a temporary port off Gaza's coast to deliver humanitarian aid is, quote, a step in the right direction. But Israel needs to be pressured to open all the crossings. I agree. I mean, again, I don't have a problem giving out the food. I have a problem with giving out the food while you're doing all these other things. And I think Hamas, in this particular case, in this particular quote, isn't even fully breaking down just how bad the U.S.'s complicity is. So that's also an issue. At least 13 Palestinians seeking refuge in Khan Yunis, which I mentioned earlier, at least 13 people seeking refuge in Khan Yunis have been killed by Israeli shelling on their tents. An airstrike on the Nusrat refugee camp killed another 13 women and children. So that's 26 right there. On top of the 5 who were killed in Deir el-Belah. With numbers like this is becoming a historically unprecedented crisis in Gaza and in Palestine. I'm not saying it's unprecedented around the world. I'm saying it's unprecedented in Palestine and Gaza, particularly in such a short, protracted period of time. Sweden announces it will resume funding to UNRWA with an initial $20 million disbursement, which follows what steps Canada took this week as well. That's a good sign that UNRWA is beginning to be refunded. You know, after all those countries said they're going to take a step back because Israel told them to. Now Canada's saying, no, we're going to start funding them again. There's no evidence that they were a terrorist group. The UK will too soon. Germany will soon too. France will soon too. The US will be last in that line, y'all, I promise. We'll start funding them again too, but we're going to be last in that line. Appreciate y'all. I'm reading some more comments here. I'm very tired. I'm going to read this and go to bed. The PCRF, the Palestine Children's Relief Fund, says last remaining office in Gaza has been destroyed in an Israeli attack. Now, the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, I mean, what is the beef with the PCRF? What's the beef with Steve Sosaby, who's the director? And shout out to him and his brilliant, beautiful, wonderful doctor wife. What a moment we're in. Human rights groups, charities, everybody's getting kicked out. Everybody's saying they're getting kicked out. President Biden, in an MSNBC interview, made contradictory statements saying he would continue to support Israel, but he also said that there are red lines that Tel Aviv should not cross in the war on Gaza. Let me ask you, President Biden, if there really is a red line that Israel should not cross, how did 2 people miss it? How do 4 people miss it? How do 100 people miss it? How do 1,000 people miss it? What I'm saying is, you say that there's a red line. If there's a red line, it's not bombing hospitals. It's not killing children. It's not weaponizing food. What short of, Bashir al-Assad chemical weapons level, Saddam Hussein, gassing people level. Like, what does Israel have to do to actually cross the red line to you? I don't know. And you have a cabinet of a lot of people, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever. How many people, however many people working on this? Nobody noticed this contradiction because it doesn't sound smart. It doesn't sound tough. It just sounds dumb because clearly every red line imaginable has been crossed. Anyway, I want to give you a brief update tonight. I'm coming back for office hours at 11. So 11-ish, 11, maybe 11:15, but I'm going to say 11 right now. So I'm going to take a quick nap, come back up at 11, do office hours. That's cute live question and answers for y'all. Then we're going to pack it in for the night. And I'll see y'all later. In the meantime, y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And of course, if you're so inclined, hit the join button and become a member of the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. And if you want to bypass all of that and just want to make a direct cash donation, you can go to MLHTV. That's right, go to Cash App, MLHTV, and just make a donation of whatever you can. Some of y'all, that number might only be $2. But if everybody right now online gave $2 to keep the channel going, to keep funding our projects, it would be amazing. So, hopefully that'll happen. But if not, there's no cost to press the like button. There's no cost to subscribe. We love having you in the family. We want to keep it. We want to keep it going. We want to keep building. All right, family. I love y'all. See y'all later. Peace.